Welcome to the dark side of Asia, a land of ancient superstitions and eternal nightmares. Nightmares turned into blockbuster horror movies by a new breed of filmmakers. Their haunting visions are terrifying audiences worldwide and reinventing the horror film. Why is Asian horror so frightening? Could these tales of terror be more than mere fantasy? In movie theaters across Asia, audiences are being kept on the edge of their seats by films widely considered to be the world's scariest. Asian directors have turned to their roots and come up with a unique brand of horror.
Some of the ones that have been most successful, though, from Japan and elsewhere in Asia are, yes, films that aren't based on gore, but are based on chills, based on subtle kinds of scares, of dread of the unknown, or of interaction with people from the past, people who are dead, or beings who are supernatural, as opposed to the tendency in Western horror, which for a while hasn't even been supernatural so much, but the psycho killer, the stalker film, the slasher film.
Southeast Asia, despite its rapid modernization, it's a land of myths, legends, and widely held beliefs in the supernatural. They make the perfect ingredients for high-octane horror. These films are resurrecting traditional beliefs as a forceful reminder to its audiences not to forget their culture and history.
You know how Hollywood films nowadays try to create their own myths, so that the movie has that sense of mythology. But for Asian stories, you do not need to artificially create the myth. The myths are there staring at you every single day.
In Indonesia, one of the biggest horror films in recent years was Jelangkung. Filmed on video in only 9 days at a tenth of the usual budget, the film went on to become bigger than Titanic. The film tells the story of a group of young Ghostbusters who meddle with the supernatural using a traditional spirit doll in a ritual known as Jelangkung. But in the end, they pay the ultimate price for their abuse of tradition. In Indonesia, superstitions about the supernatural are not to be tampered with. Beliefs about ghosts and spirits are deeply ingrained in people's minds. Ancient rituals are still practiced to make contact with the spirit world. Here, the supernatural is not just a concept, but a realm that people want to reach out and touch. The spirit doll in Jelangkung harks back to traditional animistic beliefs. The idea that spirits can possess a living body or object is widely accepted and put into practice. Here in the village of Grudo, outside Yogyakarta, a unique ritual is taking place. A ceremonial doll is taken out to the local cemetery. Spirits are summoned, and the doll becomes possessed by supernatural forces. While the doll is possessed, it becomes a fortune teller, channeling the spirit's predictions. The villagers have adapted the ceremony to become a common household practice. Families commune with spirits using a Jelangkung doll made from a simple gourd that becomes possessed. But if the wrong spirit is invited, the Jelangkung can spell trouble. Indonesian filmmakers Rizal Mantovani and Joza Purnomo thought the Jelangkung had great horror potential. In their film, one of the group tempts fate and brings a Jelangkung doll to a cemetery in a remote bamboo forest.
Jelangkung? Lu bawa Jelangkung ke sini? Kita dari tadi tuh nyariin lo.
Main jelangkung di atas kuburan lagi.
Lu ngapain sih pada main jelangkung-jelangkung begini? Hah? Gua mau pulang nih. Woi!
For directors Rizal and Joza, the film is about young people's disrespect towards traditional Indonesian beliefs.
The attitude of the younger generation towards the culture, sometimes they see it as they mock it. You know, sometimes they're too cocky about stuff, and it shows because I'm actually one of them. I mean, I go to the graveyard with my friends and just sit there and wait for things to happen, and it didn't. And I go home and we said, there's nothing there. And that kind of attitude, I think, is disrespectful.
It's about this bunch of kids who curious about supernatural being and stuff like that. So when they get to the extreme, they can't handle it. So it's like it's the curiosity kills.
Jelangkung, it has a lot of scares. It makes use of traditional local traditions in terms of horror to help deliver those scares. The sense of using the local tradition but saying, well, what happens now when this local tradition comes to a modern day context? Does the tradition still have its power?
Using the power of tradition to instill fear made Jelangkung one of the biggest films in Indonesian cinema.
Gua pak lo.
One of the secrets to its success is that many young Indonesians will have satisfied their own curiosity for the supernatural by experimenting with the Jelangkung doll.
Assalamualaikum ya para arwah. Mohon bantuannya untuk bisa ngebantu kami. Wujudkan wujud kalian, tapi tidak dengan wujud yang seram. Mohon bantuannya.
It's Friday night in Jakarta, Indonesia. A group of young friends are out on the town, but this is no ordinary night out. They've come to this abandoned colonial hospital in the old town, which they hear is haunted. They're here to play Jelangkung and make contact with the spirit world.
Jelangkung, Jelangkung, datanglah. Di sini ada pesta. Datang tadi jemput, pulang tadi antar. Jelangkung, Jelangkung, datanglah. Di sini ada pesta. Datang tadi jemput, pulang tadi antar.
On this occasion, they summon a spirit who lived in this area 300 years ago. The force of the spirits was so strong, it appeared that two members of the group became possessed. The film Jelangkung tapped into this extraordinary passion that many Indonesians have about ghosts. And it also brought to the big screen an infamous ghost from Indonesia's past, who is still said to haunt this hospital in Old Jakarta. In a new wave of Asian horror films, ancient beliefs are being cleverly brought to life to scare audiences. In Indonesia's highest-grossing horror film, Jelangkung, a group of young kids pay the ultimate price by messing with the traditional spirit doll. The film takes its inspiration from a traditional ritual designed to raise souls and communicate with the other side. But it also brought to life ghost stories from a modern version of the folktale, the urban legend. One of the most frightening entities channeled by the Jelangkung is the ghost of the crawling nurse. The story has its roots in a dark chapter of Indonesian history. Legend has it that the crawling nurse is the ghost of a blonde Dutch nurse, Suster Nursot, who haunts the hospital where she once worked. During World War II, it's rumored that she was raped and killed by Japanese soldiers. They brutally cut her legs in the attack, and to this day, she crawls seeking vengeance. The story has been circulating in Indonesia for many years, but Jelangkung marked the first time she was brought to life on celluloid. The crawling nurse is very real in the minds of Indonesians. There have been sightings of her at this old colonial hospital in Jakarta, and it's here that several scenes of Jelangkung were actually filmed.
I think Indonesian audience would love to see a local ghost than to see let's say a Dracula or vampire or, you know, the Western kind of ghoul or monster. And I think that's where the local comes in. Even we have the Suster Ngesot, which is the crawling nurse. That's very local. And so people have heard about this, but they never saw it on film.
The ghosts in Jelangkung were so vivid in the imagination of the audience that many viewers were convinced that they saw actual ghosts in the film. In this scene, where the group consult a witch doctor, there is a mysterious figure that appears behind them.
Actually, it's a kind of shadow. I think it's a girl. She just hanging by the window.
The ghost is not just a movie, but there is a real ghost in there. Yeah, that.
The real ghosts were spotted by many viewers, and directors Rizal and Josa were flooded with calls.
We realized that once the movie is out, it's not yours anymore. It's, you know, people have different takes, people have different experiences, and people just, you know, they may see something that we didn't, and, you know, it just becomes, this whole communal movie.
Not only was Jelangkung a huge box office success in Indonesia, it sparked a national craze for all things spooky. The film inspired a glut of national television shows about supernatural phenomena. One of the most popular is the world's first Ghostbuster reality show, Pemburu Hantu. Over 10,000 people have written in to request the unique extermination services of the show's team of Ghostbusters. This man's home is plagued with evil spirits. He believes ghosts are making his father ill and unable to work. The team do battle with the spirits until they finally capture them in glass jars, and the house is cleansed.
I feel so happy. I hope that this is a new start for our family, and that my father now feels well again. We hope that he'll be able to go back to work 1 or 2 days from now.
The show may look theatrical, but in many parts of Southeast Asia, the supernatural and showbiz go hand in hand.
I think Indonesians are crazy about ghosts because in one point or another it becomes sort of an obsession, or having an experience with the supernatural becomes an entertainment in itself.
Ya, minta botol aja, botol yang besar.